Hi, we wanted to make a video that would paint a realistic view of what living in a van is like. We talk from experience because we lived in ours for 4.5 years and we have no regrets. It was one of the best experiences we've ever had in our lives. And we're older people, we're senior citizens. But I just wanted to go ahead, and I'm just going to wing this and try to do it in one take, but just talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll start off on the good. This type of living can be very inexpensive, especially if you're a senior citizen, because we would use the America the Beautiful Lifetime Senior Pass, and that would allow us to stay at federal campgrounds for 50% off, up to 50% off. We really loved Army Corps campgrounds, and many of those are on a lake. We would have a waterfront site or a water view, and they were awesome. So we would spend less than $600 a month on campsites, and very often a lot less than that because we would boondock. So it can be an inexpensive way to travel and see the country. Another neat thing is you always have your home with you and all your belongings. And with a van, you can park just about anywhere and fit in a regular parking spot. If we got tired, we could spend the night at a Cracker Barrel or at a Walmart, and it was really no big deal. And we are back road people, and we could just drive on small roads, and if you had a big travel trailer or a Class A RV, you would have to sometimes avoid those smaller roads. So although I feel that the good outweighs the bad, I want to give a realistic view, and so I'm going to talk about the bad now. Rainy days. Rainy days were kind of the pits. 1 or 2 rainy days in a row is okay, but if you got like 3 or 4 and you're stuck in the van and you're in a remote area, it can be kind of claustrophobic. Also, what started to bother me after about 3 years were the long winter nights. You're in a very small space, and I would get bored. And we both don't drive at night due to vision issues, so I was starting to go a little stir crazy when the clocks changed. Also, another negative is that you have very limited space for things like kayaks. So unless you had like an inflatable or could figure out a way to transport a kayak on your roof, you might not be able to bring some of the things that you really would like to have. Another negative is that when you're in a van, you're going to experience all different kinds of temperatures depending on where you travel to, because unlike a house, it's much harder to regulate the temperature in a vehicle. We had air conditioning, which was wonderful, but our best advice would be to go to higher elevation in the summer, and then you would be a lot more comfortable. Related to this is if you had to go grocery shopping, and let's say you were staying in the southeast and you had your electrical hookups and you were running the AC, you would have to, of course, shut off your AC and pack up things so that they wouldn't go flying around if you had to brake suddenly, and then go to the grocery store and the van would really warm up again. So that was another thing that became a negative if we couldn't escape to the mountains. So although we could technically take a shower in our camper van, because it had a drain in the floor, which was really cool, but I think we only did it once or twice because it would just bring in too much moisture into the van. So we would rely on campground bathrooms. Which leads me to talk about the ugly side of van life. Bathrooms. We had one, but we tried not to use it. And we always tried to use the campground bathrooms because of the small space in the van and odors. And that usually worked out really well, except if we were ill. The other bad side is maintenance. Here's a picture of our van at a Chevy dealership, and they allowed us to spend the night. But it can sometimes be a real dilemma to find places to work on your van. And here's a picture of Jim at a state park working on the van. Another negative is not researching enough and choosing a campsite unwisely, like this one where we were right next to someone, and that was a horrible stay. So let's move on to tips which might be helpful to some folks. First of all, we relied on a material called Reflectix a lot, and you can see it here in this picture, but we used it differently. We would put it on the outside of our windows in the hot summer when it was super sunny, and it would really keep the van cooler. We would do the opposite in the winter, and we would let the sun beat down on the camper, warm it up, and at night put Reflectix in the inside of the windows. And boy, it really did the trick. Another tip is that if we were boondocking on a site and it was for free and we wanted to leave to go get groceries or whatever, we would put this sign up and let others know that we were there, or we would leave camping chairs or whatever. One of the most important tips is we got a camper with a bed that runs north to south, so we didn't have to climb over each other. And our most favorite area was when we could turn the two front seats around and use that as our living room. Jim went ahead and built this shoe cubby into the camper, and that was great because we didn't want to track dirt into our camper, so we would put our shoes underneath. Hey, that's us. And I apologize. I listened to this over again, and there's a lot of ums and pauses, so please excuse me.